Hello. You just reached MRN Crew Call, presented by Hercules Tires. Your patience while holding is appreciated. Our representatives are working hard to get you closer to the guys on top of the pit boxes, over the wall, and on your radio dial. Thank you for holding. You are now being connected to your hosts, Tony Rizzuti and Kit Cruz.
Welcome to the championship edition of MRN Crew Call, presented by Hercules Tires. That is not Kid Cruz,
no,
but the
not.
guy next to me is a guy who slept on an airplane with a hat on this morning, fresh from Homestead-Miami Speedway. It's the guy we like to call Robbie Mays Hayes. What's up, Robbie?
How's it going?
How you feeling? Did you get any sleep last night? Did you party at all with Truex and gang?
I
saw one picture of you cracking a beer.
Yeah, I got a few hours of sleep last night, but it's the last race of the season. You can't hold anything back. I didn't. Neither did the 78, and they're champions for 2017.
What did that flight home look like? I got to think it was a lot of tired-looking people. Was it pretty much a NASCAR plane home?
It was a NASCAR plane home. I know they call red eyes the flights back from the West Coast late at night, but there were a lot of tired red eyes this morning, myself included. But I don't know. It's one of those deals where it's a fun moment because you're crowning a champion. But it's a sad moment, too, because it's like it's over. The season is over. There are people that are leaving the sport, that are retiring, that we're not going to see anymore. Some people leaving teams, going to new places, and some folks who still don't know what they're going to do for 2018 yet. But it's a fun moment, but it's always a sad moment leaving Homestead.
In fact, let's start right there because this is a special edition. We'll start with the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series, take a break, and then we'll talk about the Xfinity and Camping World Truck Series Championships. But before all of that, this, as you mentioned, was a special race. Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s last full-time race.
Right.
Matt Kenseth, for all we know, he has no plans for next year. Never say never, but probably his last full-time race. Danica Patrick admits her last full-time race. Let's start just with the emotion and the vibe down in South Florida. What was it like at this track, knowing that this was the end for those three people?
Well, I think a lot of folks, I saw a lot of old Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Matt Kenseth gear this weekend. I saw a lot of the Budweiser stuff. I saw some AC Delco stuff from when he ran in the Xfinity Series in the 1990s. I saw a lot of early Matt Kenseth stuff, a lot of 17 hats, 17 T-shirts. You really didn't see much Danica stuff because I don't think most people were prepared to hear Danica say that she was stepping away from the sport full-time, which she did on Friday. And, of course, if you haven't heard, she's going to run the Daytona 500. She's also going to run the Indianapolis 500 in 2018. And then she says that's going to be it. Who she's going to run it for, we don't know, but you know that if she announces that she's going to run those two races, she's got a deal lined up. And she did not deny the fact that it could be for the same team.
I had a little birdie tell me it's going to be the same team, and they used to have a bullseye on their cars.
Yes.
Just saying.
Yes, and their fries are delicious.
Robbie, you were pretty open in social media about the fact that you were a Dale Earnhardt Jr. fan and you didn't care who knew it. What were your emotions like with your driver taking his final start?
It got a little dusty on Sunday afternoon. I'm not going to lie.
Little sand coming off.
Little sand. Yeah. Some speedy dry was being thrown up by the jet dryers.
There you go.
I had a moment to reflect Sunday morning. I walked up in the stands and just kind of sat there for a minute, and it took me back to the days when that's what I did back before I started working for MRN when I was a race fan. The whole weekend it was so eerie to see the 88 car painted up like the Budweiser car and Kenseth's car painted up like the DeWalt rookie car that they had. Those two guys came in the sport at the same time, roughly 97, started racing for championships, and then the Busch Series, now the Xfinity Series in 98 and 99, and then moving up to the Cup Series in 2000. It's eerie to me how similar their career paths have been. Starting in the same time, moving up to the Cup Series at the same time, and then walking away from the Cup Series at the same time. But it was a little emotional at the beginning of the race, and then once we got going, it was just another race. That's how I felt on Sunday.
And outside of Danica, who ended up in a crash and was clearly upset,
right?
That's how her season ended. The rest of them, I felt like Matt and Dale were okay.
Yeah.
They raced their race. They enjoyed the moment. They moved on. So obviously, it's going to be a changing of the guard in the NASCAR series, but a lot of young guys came to bat down in Homestead-Miami and proved that they are the future of the sport. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but let's break down the Ford EcoBoost 400. Robbie, to me, it was a tale of 3 different races. You had kind of the opening stage, then that middle from daylight to nighttime transition, then the full night. Let's start with the beginning. Early on, it looked like maybe Brad Keselowski, the underdog of all the underdogs, was going to be one of the better cars. And oh, by the way, our good friend in the 42 just took off. Kyle Larson, he was gone. We hardly even saw him. What do you think of the first part of the race?
I think what you just said was Brad Keselowski, who was clearly the underdog, although Team Penske said they were not the underdog because they won 3 races this year. They deserve to be there just like everybody else. I also felt like Kevin Harvick was pretty good in that first stage.
Fords were really
They
good
were
early
really
on.
good. But Kyle Larson proved why a lot of people are nervous about Kyle Larson at Homestead. If he can get to the championship for Tony, he's got a good chance to win a championship one of these days because as good as he runs at this place. Then stage 2 happened. We saw the transition. Not as good in stage 2. I felt like Kyle Busch kind of came on.
Yeah, that's when the Toyotas started, at least on the Busch side. I mean, I think Truex was still a little bit further back, but got some track position. And once he did, he was at least able to run with the guys up front. But you're right, that's when Kyle Busch really started to assert himself. And oh, by the way, Kyle Larson's still in the lead. By a lot.
By a long stretch. And then once the nighttime got in, Kyle Busch, Adam Stevens, they had some strategy there the last, 50, 60 laps. They stayed out longer than everybody else, and then he pitted, and he was planning on, that being it. Unfortunately, the strategy backfired because caution came out. So then it bunched everybody up, and then it put Truex out front.
What do you think of that strategy? Because Joey Meyer and I were talking about that on Monday during Motorsports Monday. He thought it was a horrible call by Adam Stevens to go with the one-stop strategy. Hindsight's 20/20 because it didn't work, but had it worked, Kyle Busch would have won by just under a lap.
Right.
He'd had a 30-second lead. It would have been the most boring championship ever. It was the right strategy. It just didn't work out.
If it had played out, we would say Ray Evernham who?
Yeah.
Adam Stevens would be the new Ray Evernham because he was the one who came up with that strategy that got Gordon his first career win. If this had played out yesterday, and there's no reason to say that it couldn't have, then Kyle Busch will be the champion, not Martin Truex Jr.
Well, and you could argue the track position at the end for Kyle Busch. But truly, I mean, there was, because of the caution that Kurt Busch, his brother, brought out, everybody went to pit road, lined up on each other. Everybody started. The problem with Kyle Busch was he didn't have a short-run car. So regardless of how it was going to play out, it wasn't really going to matter once that caution. Either strategy was not going to work for Kyle Busch because of the short-run car he had. Long run, he had a great car.
Oh, he was money in long run.
But once he got to Truex, and Truex went up next to the wall and said, okay, it's on, everything ended out. And that was the final stage, the battle towards the end. We talked about Kyle Larson being way out in front the entire time. He obviously probably could have won the race.
Sure.
He chose to stay back, unlike somebody we'll talk about in the next segment. Were you okay with Larson deciding not to go for the win and staying out of the battle?
I was. I feel like at that point he realized that those two cars I felt were better than him, and I respect his decision. I mean, still though, he had a good finish, he had a good run, and after the last month, a top 10 run is great for Kyle Larson because he had 4 straight DNFs going to Homestead last week. So I think it was the right call. I don't know that he could have kept up with the Toyotas. I really don't. I feel like he was good early, but he was not as good as Truex and Kyle Busch were at the end.
I thought he could have gone for the win. I thought it was a class move for him to say, you know what, this isn't my year. I'm going to lay back and let them. Yeah, I'm sure he was enjoying watching it. Like, this is an incredible battle because, Robbie, I thought with 10 laps to go, it was going to be Kyle Busch's race.
I did too.
I mean, he caught him from 4 seconds plus back. He was right up on him. There was one time when I thought he had a chance to make the move, and for whatever reason, maybe he got loose. I can't remember off the top of my head. Truex was able to pull away back to about a second. It seemed like that was the move, and what Kyle Busch said afterwards, he just didn't have the tire to be able to go up there and make that move, and his car was better on the bottom.
It was.
And Truex had the top. It just wasn't going to work.
It wasn't, but let's talk about not the fact that Kyle Busch lost it. It's the fact that Martin Truex Jr. went up there and won it.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people are not fond of this championship system because some people say it doesn't reward the best driver all year. Martin Truex Jr. was the best driver from start to finish in 2017. 8 wins, however many stage wins during the course of the season, although he didn't win many during the playoffs, which I think is funny. Not ha-ha funny, but funny.
Yeah.
But he was the best car all year. Okay, you cannot deny the fact that Truex was the best car, and I think a lot of people would have been disappointed if Truex had not won this championship based on how dominant he was throughout the course of the season. But I'll tell you this, everybody down there this weekend, if you weren't affiliated with either the 18, the 2, or the 4, I think most people were pulling for Truex to get that championship. He's a good guy. He and Sherry Pollux, they do a lot for people outside of the industry, and they're able to use the platform of NASCAR racing to be able to do that for people. I've seen firsthand this year some of the things that they're doing with the Martin Truex Jr. Foundation. Good people, happy as heck for those guys to get the championship.
Yeah, and I think pretty much anybody that was associated with 78 ended up on stage.
Yeah.
That was crazy down there. Hey, Jennifer, put up the final results again, if you don't mind. We'll run through those for you. Obviously, Martin Truex Jr. gets the win, Kyle Busch second, Kyle Larson third. Kevin Harvick, good run for Harvick. He had a fast car early on, but even he admitted not enough for the Toyotas on the mile and a half.
He had some nose damage to the end of the race, but he still got you a Bloomin' Indian on Monday.
That's right. Chase Elliott fifth, a guy who kind of ran under the radar a little bit, but at the end of the year and really for the entire year was the class of the Hendrick Motorsports cars.
Absolutely, yeah.
Joey Logano sixth. Obviously, Kyle Busch wasn't happy with the way he raced at the end, but Joey with a good finish in sixth. Brad comes up seventh, said he just didn't have enough speed. Good run for Matt Kenseth. We talked about that. Top 10 coming out. Denny Hamlin, ninth. Ryan Newman, top 10. There's something about Newman, always seems to find his way in the top 10 at Homestead-Miami.
He's pretty good
Speedway.
down there. Finished second in the championship a couple years ago down there, too.
But 2017 will belong to Martin Truex Jr. and the Furniture Row number 78 team. They are the champion. There's the final points tally. And the folks in Denver, Colorado, Bernie Visser not able to go because he had a heart attack recovering from that. So good for those guys and everybody in Denver excited about that. Martin Truex Jr., your Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series champion for 2017. Okay, we got to take our only break here on MRN Crew Call. When we come back, we'll sum up the season. William Byron, Christopher Bell, they're also champions in their reflective series. Robbie and I will talk about that when we come back on MRN Crew Call.
Whatever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules Tires will get you there, whether you're running on dirt or running a job. Our dependable, high-quality tires are the perfect fit for your needs. For unmatched value, selection, and warranty with industry-leading road hazard protection, there's only one choice, Hercules Tires. To learn more, visit HerculesTire.com or call 800-677-9535. Hercules Tires, ride on our strength.
Are you ready?
To help children forget about their serious medical conditions so they can just be a kid. Then support Victory Junction, which is the dream of late race driver Adam Petty, who wanted to build a camp where children concentrate on fun and laughter, not illness or disability. At Victory Junction, kids enjoy ziplining, horseback riding, swimming, fishing, all in a medically safe environment, all at no cost to the camper. What do you say, Richard Petty?
Let's do this.
Learn more at victoryjunction.org.
Being there matters, and your United States Navy protects and defends America on the world's oceans. Around the globe, around the clock, Navy ships, submarines, aircraft, and most importantly, tens of thousands of America's finest young men and women are ready to defend America when piracy threatens global commerce, when disaster strikes, or when called upon by the Commander-in-Chief. Your Navy is there. When it comes to protecting and defending America, being there matters, and America's Navy is already there.
Thank you for holding. Now back to MRN Crew Call with Tony and Kid.
Tony and Robbie Mays Hayes in the house for this special edition of MRN Crew Call. We are kind of rounding out the season, talking about the championship runs. We already talked about Martin Truex Jr. winning the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series championship. Now let's talk the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Exciting, maybe one of the most exciting races of the entire weekend. Came down to William Byron racing his own teammate Elliott Sadler late in the stages. Byron gets it done. Unbelievable finish to the Xfinity Series.
One of the reasons I love Homestead-Miami Speedway is you can run all over
Anywhere.
that place.
Yep.
Anywhere you want. Why in the world they choose to run right up there next to that fence, I will never know. But you can run anywhere you want. But that was one of the best Xfinity races I've seen in a really long time. I didn't know who was going to win it. Let me take that back. I knew who was going to win the race, Cole Custer, because that kid was lights out.
Ridiculously good. Yeah,
Funny story.
Great run for him.
I walked past their pit box about a dozen times on Saturday, and each time Joe Custer, his dad, was walking. I mean, it was like he couldn't just stand there and watch it happen. It's like his nervous dad was walking up and down the hallway. So anyway, congratulations to Cole to get his first career win. But watching William Byron and Elliott Sadler run for that championship, that was just so much fun to watch. And congratulations to William Byron. And again, all 3 series this year, the best driver won the championship. So you can't deny the fact that William Byron was not the king of the Xfinity Series this year.
He absolutely was. Daniel Hemrick, really fast early on. Ran into some trouble. Then Justin Allgaier could never seem to quite get the car where he wanted. Had Chad Knaus on the box, but for whatever reason, they couldn't dial those 2 cars in. But the 1 car and the 9 car, Byron and Sadler put on a heck of a show. But then it came down to the last, and Elliott Sadler was chasing down William Byron.
Right.
Ryan Preece, who was running third, was in between them. There was contact between the 2. Sadler, obviously, after the race, losing it, and he was upset that he lost. Let's start with that.
Yeah.
That's the number 1 reaction. But he wasn't happy with Preece. He felt like Preece should have gotten out of the way. Robbie, I'm curious to get your take on it, because as I watched that, Ryan Preece, was running for what his team wanted him to do, which was to try to get an owner's championship.
Right.
But they weren't going to get it.
No.
He also spent a lot of his own money. He admitted that when he raced at New Hampshire and had so much success. I spent all my sponsor money to put myself into a good car for 3 good runs.
Right.
So he had a responsibility to himself, to the people that invested in him, to try to get a good run. I personally don't think Ryan Preece did anything wrong when it came to Elliott Sadler. I think Sadler initiated the contact with Preece. I don't think Preece could run any higher. Now, had Sadler dove down to the inside and Preece ran him side by side for a lap or 2 laps, that would have been a problem. But that wasn't the case here. They always say when you're a spotter, clear the guy, and usually the decision is, hey, when he gets to me, I'll let him go.
Yeah.
Well, by the time Sadler got to Preece, in my opinion, that's when they made the contact. He had never gotten there to let him go until that point. Preece couldn't go any higher. How did you see this controversial ending?
Well, I felt like Elliott Sadler was frustrated because his teammate got by him and he just lost the championship. And then I think there was a little over-aggression trying to get back to William Byron. I think Elliott might have pushed the envelope just a skosh to try to get back up there. But at the same time, you look at Ryan Preece's argument for I'm running for the Owners' Championship. He doesn't know what position you're in for the Owners' Championship at that point. You're just out there trying to race as hard as you can. Could he have given Elliott Sadler a little bit more room? Sure. Could Elliott Sadler have maybe handled it a little bit better? Sure. At the end of the day, Elliott knew, excuse me, I'm getting choked up talking about this. Elliott knew that he had lost the championship. And so at that point, he's just over-aggressive, trying to make anything happen to be able to get up there. Elliott Sadler's been around the sport for a very long time.
Yeah.
We talk about Junior and Kenseth retiring. Elliott Sadler came in roughly at the same time in 96, 97, and he still doesn't have his championship yet.
No, and at his age,
42 years old.
This could have been his best and maybe only chance. I don't believe that,
Well,
because he's with Junior Motorsports. He has
Yeah.
good financial backing and One Main Financial, so I feel like he can come back and those cars are going to be strong. But, you know, I think this is one of those things where depending on what team you're on, you're going to have a different opinion.
Right.
If you're a Chevy guy, if you're a Junior Motorsports guy, if you're Elliott Sadler team, that was the worst thing a driver could do. Get
Absolutely.
out of the way, let us race.
Right.
If you're on the Toyota side and you're a Ryan Preece guy or you believe in this kid, hey, he's young, he didn't know what to do. He was probably going to let him. We'll never know. I personally think, much like what happened in the Monster Energy Series, I think William Byron had the better car and was still going to win. But we'll never know.
Right.
That's why you race these races. I hate that it turned out that way for both people.
Yeah.
I hate that it turned out that way for Elliott Sadler. I hate that it happened to Ryan Preece because he's shown so much promise.
Well,
but that's the way it is. But in the end, Robbie, you mentioned it earlier. It's good when the best go out there and win it.
Right.
And the best this year in the NASCAR Xfinity Series was William Byron. He was owed one from last year, and I know nobody buys into that karma, but karma owed him for last year's Truck Series season, and he went out and he won it.
I think when Elliott Sadler has a chance to look back on what happened on Saturday afternoon, I think he's going to be upset because he didn't win the championship. I think Ryan Preece is going to look back on Saturday afternoon and say, I was just trying to do my job. I was trying to do the best that I could do. And unfortunately, they got together. And I don't think anybody's going to remember that finish. I think everybody's going to remember the fact that William Byron was in championship victory lane with a Darlington stripe on the side of his car.
No, they won't remember how that race went down for most of them, but
Right.
Elliott Sadler and Ryan Preece will
Yeah.
never forget. And I
No.
bet Preece, whether he did anything wrong or not, feels bad about that. All right, your final standings, Cole Custer got the win. Sam Hornish,
Yeah.
second place run. Good
run
run for Sam and Team Penske. Oh, by the way, Cole Custer, that team switched. They didn't even have an Xfinity team.
Nope,
the
brand
entire company goes from Chevy to Ford, so outstanding there at the end. Hornish always proves he can run good in big races. There's William Byron. Tyler Reddick, good run. There's Preece. Brennan Poole, another guy we're not really sure what his story is.
No.
Matt Tiff, Elliott Sadler, Michael Annette, Ty Majeski, a young guy that looks good. And oh, by the way, we talk about drivers that may have run their last race. A lot of swirling rumors. Brendan Gaughan may not be back. That would certainly be big for the Xfinity Series. Casey Mears may not be back. Again, big names in the sport of NASCAR that have been there, fan favorites, possibly not going to be back. So it's going to be a different look for all the series in 2018.
And it usually, this time of year, we're always asking these questions, and then by the time New Year's rolls around, we've got half of them answered, and then we don't have the other half. But stay tuned to MRN.com during the offseason. We'll have all the news for all the silly season changes for 2018.
And now we round everything out with the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. Christopher Bell wins the championship. Robbie, by the way, John Singler pointed this out. It's the first time in championship history, we haven't been doing this Final Four format very long, but all three number one seeds going into the final race won their race. Were you surprised it was Bell who was crowned champ?
I'm surprised Singler came up with that stat.
We'll give him credit. It's
give him
on the
credit.
sheet of paper
Yeah.
here.
I'm not surprised that Christopher Bell won the championship. I feel like, he may not have had the best truck the last handful of races this season. I felt like Johnny Sauter was the best truck. Obviously, he won at Texas and he won at Phoenix. But Christopher Bell, again, like Byron and Truex, has been up front, leading laps, winning races all season long. So I don't think you can say that I'm surprised he won the championship. I'm more shocked that Chase Briscoe got his first win in BKR race, or Brad Keselowski Racing's last race.
They're going away.
They're going away. They're done.
Yeah.
Walk off. Drop the microphone. Don't drop the microphone because they're expensive. I was surprised Crafton ran as not great as he did.
Yeah, usually he's a gamer there and usually
Yeah.
finds a way, and he
Yeah.
just didn't have it.
But I felt like Sauter and Crafton, I was surprised they ran the way they did, but I'm not surprised with the way Bell's run. He's been the mile-and-a-half king all year.
I want to talk about Bill a little bit further in a second, but Austin Cindric, 19 years old, first time he's been in the car, and Christopher Bell's really young too, but the job that Austin Cindric did in a BKR truck, Ford doesn't have a ton of backing like the Toyotas do,
Right.
to end up fifth in that final race. I thought that was a really, really good run for that young man.
Both of those kids, Chase Briscoe and Austin Cindric, have bright futures ahead of them. They both won this year. Unfortunately, we don't really know what either of them are going to be are going to be doing in 2018. Much like a lot of drivers, we don't know what they're going to be doing next year. But Cindric, I feel like has some longevity in the sport. I feel like Chase Briscoe could have some longevity in the sport. They just got to get some rides for next year to be able to prove what they can do, and whether it's in the Truck Series or moving up to the Xfinity Series. And one thing we didn't talk about was Byron's moving up to the Cup Series.
Yep.
Christopher Bell is moving up to the Xfinity Series. So who's going to step in and fill their shoes next year and be the dominant trucks? We don't know yet.
When you think about what Kyle Busch Motorsports, KBM, what Kyle and his wife Samantha have done for some young drivers, put them in really good equipment, and the kids have answered. Look, when you just think a little bit about that kind of lineage of driver, you had Eric Jones, who's proven he can do it at the top level. I was surprised he didn't get a win this year.
He did
Won't
win
be
Rookie of the
surprised
Year.
if he gets one next year. Yep.
Right.
Then you get William Byron in that truck, who's proven he can be a champion now in the Xfinity Series, moving up to Cup. Now Christopher Bell, Jones, Byron, Bell. Do you put Bell in the same category? Is he one of those next big stars? I think he is. I think he's equally as talented.
I think he is. I think he is just as good as Eric Jones. I feel like in some aspects he's got a little bit better car control than Eric Jones because he comes from that sprint car background. And I feel like, talking to all the sprint car stuff we have here on MRN.com, if you have that kind of car control, like a Tony Stewart, or maybe somebody like Dale Earnhardt back in the day. He used to drive on dirt in his beginnings in racing. I feel like if you have that dirt background, you have a little bit better car control sometimes, and Christopher Bell certainly has a lot of dirt car experience, and he's got great car control. He's a bright star in the sport.
Yeah, I think he's going to be unbelievable, and now that leaves us with who knows what's going to happen in the Camping World Series next year. I mean, Johnny Sauter would have to be the guy you look at as the veteran coming back with an established team, but it'll be really interesting to see how that series, in fact, all the series next year, really, if Chevrolet and Ford can find a way to beat those Toyotas on the 1.5 mile tracks, or at least be competitive with them, I think all three series next year could be right down to the wire all the way through.
I think next season in the Truck Series, a lot of question marks. I think in the Xfinity Series, Junior Motorsports is just going to be as strong as they've ever been. And don't forget, they're adding Tyler Reddick. Go back to the Truck Series for a second. A lot of young talent in that series mixed in with some veterans. John Hunter Nemechek. He mentioned over the weekend that he's got an announcement about next year. Don't know what it is.
Like that kid a lot.
Yeah. So and Kaz Grala is down there. Ryan Truex has been running well. So I think the Truck Series has a lot of stuff. The Xfinity Series, again, Junior Motorsports is going to be the dominant car in the Gibbs stuff. And in the Cup Series, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if Truex is going to be able to dominate next year like he did this year.
Well, to be the man, you got to beat the man.
Exactly.
So he's going to be the favorite going in. Robbie, thanks for joining us today. We bounced around a lot.
Yeah.
Fans, don't bounce around the grocery stores this holiday season. Make your holiday meal magnificent with a mouth-watering Durack ham or premium beef rib roast from Creekstone Farms. Use promo code MRNROAST on any holiday ham or roast purchase of $100 or more and get 15% off. That's promo code MRNROAST at creekstonefarms.com. Good while supplies last. Big Thanksgiving plans for you?
Oh, yeah.
You're going to do it, aren't you?
Going to South Carolina.
You going to wear the comfy pants, couple
yeah.
notches out?
Oh, yeah. This belt is going to get loosened up on Thursday.
That's the way I'm going to do it as well. Hey, thanks for all your work this year on MRN.com.
Thank you. This was fun.
All right, for all of us here at MRN, we hope you have a great holiday season. Congrats to all the winners in the series, Christopher Bell, William Byron, and Martin Truex. Thanks for watching MRN Crew Call.
You've been listening to MRN Crew Call, presented by Hercules Tires. Stream us every Wednesday at noon on MRN.com or on the MRN app. MRN Crew Call is also available on demand in the MRN.com Media Center, on our Facebook page, on YouTube, or download it through iTunes or Google Play. MRN Crew Call is a production of the Motor Racing Network. Goodbye.